Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is Maverick Voices, and I'm Patrick. Maverick Voices is a podcast for you, our MTC community, to share your stories and journey to MTC. This week, we talked to Josie, and man, this conversation goes all over the place. But Josie is a great guest, a great student, and one of the things, as you can see by the show's title, she gives a motto that we can live by. So sit back and relax for this week's episode of Maverick Voices.
Welcome to the Maverick Voices podcast. I am Patrick Bennett, and I am here today with Josie Cortez Leon. And she is one of our students at Midlands Technical College. And today we're going to have a conversation about her journey at Midlands Tech. So, Josie, as we record this, it's a cloudy day outside, and it's a little dreary, but much warmer than it has been over the last couple of days. How you feeling? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Can't complain too much.
That's great. So, Josie, tell us a little bit about, your background, what you like, what you dislike, where you from, all that good type of stuff. I detect an accent, like a New York accent. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I do have a New York accent. I was raised in Brooklyn, New York. I really can't say I was raised there all the way because I'm a military brat. So I've been all over the place. And then when my mom got tired of traveling, then I was stuck at grandma's house. So then I was in New Jersey for a little while. And then, my journey has been all over. I think I've been to probably like 13 states and like 3 countries.
Oh, wow. Wow. So how did you end up in South Carolina?
Um, A few things. Initially, it was a tragedy.
Oh.
My mom's parents had passed away, so my mom's grandparents, so my great grandparents, had passed away. And tag, I was it because I'm the one that's always venturing out to new things, and it just seemed the best choice for me to be the representative while we waited for a family. Because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a military brat, so military people were coming from everywhere, so we had to hold off on burying my great grandparents until everybody was at least able to show up. And then that's right around the time when COVID was starting to, emerge its ugly little head. So once COVID hit the following year, because I came here for Halloween of 2019, once COVID hit, well, I just made a choice to stay here because I wasn't going to go back to New York. Have you seen the news? It was crazy. I wasn't going back up there. So it took me a little while to finish with my great grandparents. And then from there, I was here. And luckily, I had a job that I was able to transfer over and just continue working down here. But like I said, I like to keep it moving. I like to be challenged. So I was like, well, let me go back to school because I'm just wasting my time out here just working. I don't know the area. I don't have friends. Now I do. But when I first got here, I'm a newbie. The only people that I did have happened to be deceased. So I'm here literally by myself with just work. And
So,
yeah.
no, go ahead. I know you're
And
finished.
I was like, and being a New Yorker, I wasn't trying. My goal was like, I'm gonna come down here, bury my great grandparents. I know it sounds kind of harsh. Bury them, get back up there, and continue to do me. But that didn't work out. So I had to shift, pivot, and make new decisions. And around that time, since I was already in the field kind of what I'm doing now at Midlands Tech, I just decided to, I always wanted to do that. My mom had gotten sick. It was the perfect time to get, to make it happen. And now I'm down here. So now I don't have a choice. When I was back home, it's like, well, I'm doing too much. I work over here and I network over there and I'm running around. I don't have time. Now it's like, well, you ain't got no friends. Family's not down there with you. All you got is work. So what you gonna do? And
So how would you compare, just talking about before we get to school stuff, how would you compare New York to South Carolina?
South Carolina, no offense to anything or anyone, but compared to New York, South Carolina is real slow. So then I can either come off very harsh, very aggressive when it's not my intention because I'm gonna be misconceived, misperceived. You know what I mean? So they're
Yeah.
gonna look at me like I've been told, calm down, slow down, and I'm like, I'm not even excited yet. If this is a lot for you, I can only imagine when I get excited. Be ready to run. So that's
So I've only been to New York a couple times, but I would love to get your thoughts on South Carolina drivers versus New York drivers and who's
no,
worse.
let's not even. Why we gotta talk about that? I wanted to let y'all. I
Because
feel that people here, I don't know, they just do what they want to do on the road, and most of the time it's okay. But then when you have a little bit of rain, like today, then they want to drive like it's a blizzard outside, or they want to have accidents, and I'm like, what's going on? Like it's a little drizzle. Like why are you driving so slow, or why are you driving so fast, or why are you not getting in the lane? I think because people are paced at whatever way they're not so used to being in congested traffic. You know what I mean? All the
yeah.
time, like all the time. So, they act like buttholes.
Well, I would say, New York drivers kind of are similar in some regards. They just blow their horn all the time. Just northern drivers in general. They blow their horn way too much. Calm
But
down.
well, not in New York. Well, everybody knows in New York, you blow your horn, you're paying a fine.
Oh,
So
really?
I might lower my window and cuss you out.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
and there's signs posted in a lot of places, especially in Manhattan. Especially in Manhattan. You go to Manhattan, start honking. First of all, block the box. You're gonna get very familiar with that term when you're in New York, especially in the city, Manhattan. That's what we call the city. Especially over there. There's boxes, pedestrian walkways, and there's a lot of
Right.
traffic, pedestrian, and a lot of road traffic. You know what I mean? So don't block the box. That light's gonna be green. You know it's yellow. You know it's gonna turn red. Slow down, stop. Because if I'm blocking that pedestrian walkway, that's a ticket.
Wow.
And because I'm blocking them. So now they can't get through. And there's a lot of traffic, a lot of things. So you're trying to get this done as quickly as you can and as safely as you can. So you have to follow the rules. And out here, people don't follow the rules. They make their own rules.
Yeah, South Carolina drivers, they about the worst drivers I ever seen. I'm not from South Carolina originally. I'm from Georgia, which is not too much better, but it's much better than these South Carolina drivers.
Well, the thing is that Georgia's depending, like if you're like in Atlanta, there's a lot of traffic out there too.
Yes, you
You're
gotta
always
drive. You
looking.
gotta drive defensive.
Right, and careful because I've seen some videos about Georgia now, and I've seen how people just get out their car. I might yell at you from my window. Y'all get out the car, start fighting.
That's not
And
me.
I'm
I'm
like, well,
more. I'm more Southern hospitality, Georgia. That's more.
I need
You
to meet
go
y'all.
fight Georgia.
Hey,
But
ever since I've been down here, everybody's always asking me how's the Southern hospitality. My mom came for the holidays, and she was like, "Girl, it does not exist."
it does. You just gotta go to the right places. You gotta. There,
This is
there's
the
a
South.
gentle. There's a. Not everybody. See, we got too many Northerners. That's as
Oh,
that
okay, all right.
that's
I see.
that's
I see where you're
influenced our area. Now, some of us, Southerners have adapted Northern ways and now polite, but we still have our politeness.
going. Hmm.
So let's get back to we deviated a little bit from our original intent of our podcast, but I love it. I love it when we have these type of conversations. So you kind of touched on earlier about coming to MTC, but what specifically? How did you learn about MTC while you was down here? What motivated you to come?
All right. So when I was looking, a few things were already going on in my mind. So I already had a whole scope of where I am academically, where I am trade wise, where I am learning. And I'm really good. I'm really good. I'm a fast paced person. I'm a fast learner. And I've been in a lot of different industries. So I do have a vast knowledge. It's just applying it in the right discipline.
Mm,
Right. So when I was checking online, well, I don't know the area around my great grandparents used to live in Lexington. So I was looking around that area, what seemed the best, and what I initially wanted to go for electrical engineering because right now I'm enrolled as a mechanical engineering student. But prior to that, I was really when I applied to MTC, I applied with the intent to be an electrical engineer because my end goal is going to be more right with electricity. However, when I got in, do the assessment test, we were talking about different things. It seemed because I don't know anything about electricity, although I work around it, and what I need is going to be based on electricity. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's going to be based on electricity. But I don't know anything about it. It's like, well, let's go with the mechanical terms. That way we could figure that part out, and then it'll be much easier adapting the electrical part to it. So I went that route because of that. You know, quick change. But I still have to go back and do it. So I still have to do electrical anyway. That's just I just started differently. And I mean, basically that's what brought me there. I was looking at different schools, and I wanted something that was basically about engineering. And a Midlands Tech around that time, which was 2020, 2021, that I was looking into it, well, they were really boasting about how they have a really good engineering program, how they were going to make a new engineering program and all these innovative things. And I kind of like being a maverick because,
Hmm.
I kind of enjoy that. That kind of like pulled me into like, I'm a maverick. I really do want to figure things out and make a way. I mean, that's the whole point of becoming an engineer in the first place,
Right.
is to solve problems and make things better or hopefully create things. Um, and it had good reviews. Some people said they used it as a step to get into, continue on their journey, and that's okay because as a community college, it exceeded my expectations from a community college. Like at first, I didn't even know it was a community college. Kind of, I thought it was more like a trade school,
Hmm.
including some academia, which kind of like threw me for a loop. But then once I got more information and talking to advisors and stuff, then it kind of like all just clicked, and
So
I was content.
So let's pause right there for a second. So I want you to talk a little bit about your initial expectations in coming to MTC and the reality. So you kind of talked a little bit about, you thought it was a trade school and not really like just a little bit academia, but you realized it was more than that. So kind of touch on what were your expectations versus actual reality when you came here.
Um, I was going based on the reviews and word of mouth and people that attend there because where I was working at, a few of my coworkers attended. So they had good reviews. So that's already good. People that I know kind of getting to know and trust or whatever, they're telling me that that's a good thing. I also did my own little background research, and I was like, okay, and it was very it was like a couple grand cheaper than going to like another university. And like I said, I don't know the area. And even though it was a little bit far, it was still within, I mean, I'm a New Yorker. I can travel, to me, traveling up to an hour is okay. I used to do that on the regular. Um, but if I don't know the area, that hour can seem kind of, scary. Like I don't know. Like when I first came down here, I had a car in the city. And when I came down here, I traded that in. I got a truck because I was like, I don't know what I'm expecting down there. Back roads and all kinds of stuff. So my expectations were like, all right, it's probably going to be a small college. And then I drove around where one of my friends went. I didn't know which campus I was going to be admitted into because there's so many different ones, which I thought that was pretty neat too. I was like, well, I didn't know that there were so many different campuses. That school now it went from being something so small that I thought was intimate or whatever to something a little bit more broader with more resources. So now it's like I'm getting more interested in it. I'm like, I want to know what's going on and everything.
So
Um,
what campus so what campus did you first tour in? Was it Airport, Beltline, or Northeast?
Outline.
Okay.
Yeah, I did my assessment and everything at Beltline. And then I got excited because when I finally decided, did everything and did all the paperwork, because like I said, I hadn't been in school in a while, so it took a little longer. And then I was procrastinating too because I was working. So I was like, I don't know, do I want to fit it in? I still have my old school ways before I came down here. So then I was like, well, let me give it a try. And they sent me to airport, and I'm like, whoa, that's like, why I gotta go all the way over there? Like I'm not living nowhere near that. But and then with the traffic and then airport, I just heard airport, and I just like, man, traffic, people out here don't know how to drive already. That's gonna be like a really long trip, even though it seems not so far. And
Off. Oh, I did not. Josie, can you give us a memorable class or memorable professor that you've had thus far that really influenced you?
automatically, as you're not even done with your sentence, and I already have a professor like reigning over everyone else so far. But I'm just biased just because I also enjoy the topic of
Yeah.
discussion. So I would say my English professor, um, Dr. Rozier. I had him my first semester. I wasn't too sure what to expect from him. It was a little bit difficult, just like I said, navigating back into the academia waters. And I was like, wait, I want to just start on my career. I don't want to start on this, but it was good to refresh. He made it learning easy. He was also new down here too, so I guess it was a learning experience for both of us. So I kind of got that from him. So it was a good vibe. He was cool. Then I picked him again for the second semester because I enjoyed his methods, and I can ask him any question and he would always reply. It was always cool. So he wasn't stuffy. So he made it very convenient to approach him. He made it very approachable and not intimidating with everyone. So that was pretty neat. Um, and I'm actually looking forward to, I don't need English anymore, but I was like, hey, I don't want to do anything crazy during the summer. Like I just want to,
Right.
I still want to be in class because I don't want to get off the vibe. But I was like, are you teaching anything? Because I know sometimes I think a semester or so ago he was doing poetry. And I was like, and I don't mind doing that because I enjoy English. I'm good at it. So why not do something that I'm good at? And it's still a little bit challenging with whatever he's gonna present, but it's easier than the stuff I'm taking.
Well, Josie, interesting. You are in mechanical engineering. When I think of engineering, I think of math and figuring out all that type of stuff. But then you say your favorite class so far is English 101 and 102, right?
Well, yeah,
So,
because I gotta speak to people. I'm a people person, so English just enables me to do all of that. It gives me the critical skills. It gives me formation. If somebody needs a letter, I'm writing that letter. I know exactly how to do it. I don't gotta sit and wait. If I need a memo written, and that's what his class and English always. I'm always using English. Like I have to use English for everything, and I have to compose myself not only writing a letter or typing it, but in person. And that teaches, it teaches you all that stuff. But I think it's just easy for me to accept to understand it, although it
okay.
might be challenging. And I talk a lot, so I like to be able to condense that. And those type of classes kind of like give me a limit of where to shut up.
Give you a limit, you get 500 words and be concise. That's basically what
Right. Because sometimes, most students will be like, oh man, 500 words, that's too much. And I'm like, oh, geez, 500 words. I need to really sum it up.
right.
And
So,
and that,
go
oops.
ahead.
No, and I'm saying that helps English.
So, how do you balance your job and your academic commitments with your other responsibilities in your life?
Well, like I said, I'm very into what I'm doing, and I'm really moving forward with that idea that this is what I'm choosing to do and I'm going to see it through regardless of the obstacle that comes in. So with that mindset, um I'm going to do whatever it takes. So right now, I was working full time when I started MTC. I had a full-time job. I was working at a chemical lab. I was a chemical engineer tech, and I loved it, you know what I mean? But to go to school, they were able to accommodate me. I thought that was great. I had my ideals of I'm really good at, I'm a fast learner. I could pick this thing up. Never done engineering. I done other stuff and worked around engineers, and we had about the same type of stuff, but I wasn't in that field like that. And I realized my first semester when I had to withdraw from a few classes and I'm like, oh man, I'm about to not really pass
Mm,
this. Like, this is too much for me. Like, I really can't handle full time and a full time school course at the same time. Kind of bummed me out because that means that I had to reduce my school time or reduce work. Well, I got all the bills I still had before I started school. So my first option was, well, I'm gonna have to decrease school, and that bummed me out for a lot of reasons. Number one, I my it kind of humbled me to show me that hey, I don't know it all like that. And I was very zealous and I was like, I'm gonna get all this done. I want to do that 2 years that they promised that degree in. I don't want to sit around and wait. My research says that it could take up to 6 years for a 2-year degree. And I'm like, well, that's not gonna be me. I'm gonna get this done in 2 years, put as many classes in. I can get this done. I've done it before. Well, I had to humble myself and be like, well, no, that's too much for me. I'm about to choke. And instead of succeeding, I'm gonna fail. And I don't even like the word failure. So I revised it for the second semester. I started working, going to school, still working full time, still getting the accommodations at that job. And then working doing classes part time. So instead of doing 4 to 5 classes for the semester, I was down to 2. And then it was still kind of hard because I'm like, whoa, with all the hours I have to put into work, because I was working, I had to work overnight to get accommodated to go to school for days. So I wasn't sleeping. So the time that I did have in my head at that time, it clicked. I was like, well, I'll be at work from 6 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning because it was a 12-hour shift, 3 to 4 days a week. And I was like, I'll get out and I'll go to sleep. But that semester my class was at 8:30. So I was like, okay, I can't go to sleep. I'm gonna be tired from a 12-hour shift. I'm gonna get to that class. But it's English. I'm good at English. It'll be all right. But it wasn't because then I still gotta get the work done. And English, it's easy for me, but they give you a lot of work. Like it's not like
Yeah,
other
a lot of
classes.
papers to write, a little small
Exactly.
assignments.
And I mean, that's easy for me, but it's still like when you got nothing, when you have a lot to do already on your plate and then you're tired from work, that seems like even writing something so easy for me will be so hard. So I was like, well, this is not working. And then I struggled a little bit. I was able to still pass. I think I had 3 classes and I had to withdraw to one because it was either withdraw or fail. And well, I'd rather take the withdrawal. And I was put on probation for I guess not matching up to like how many credits I needed for that semester and stuff like that. But I was able to get it through because like I said, I whatever you tell me I need to do, I'm gonna get it done. So my GPA has suffered because I had to withdraw for some classes. Um, I brought it back up to I think it was like a 3.5 or something. And they were like, oh, that's
Oh,
great.
wow. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So then overall I was like still a 2.5, but I was still out of the red. I'm no longer I was in probation. And I was like, ooh, never want to be in probation again for that or for the financial aid part, because you have to keep up with their requirements. And that's what had got me in the hole in the first place. So then that seemed so terrible. And then my job didn't want to accommodate me because the semester changed again. So now it's like, wait, you got all these hours. Like we can't keep switching it up every 3 or 4 months for you. And that got me upset with my job because I'm like, well, you guys said that you do accommodations and that was something they wouldn't have a problem, but now you are having a problem. But I guess in their defense or to look at it in a broader spectrum, my department only had 5 techs because only 5 people are allowed to be in that department to work with the chemicals and stuff that we were doing in the formula. So it's hard to even get someone in that department, let alone retrain them for everything to always have to keep doing things. And yeah, they want to help me out, but business is business, I guess.
It is business, it's business. Josie, what that all that entails just speaks of your perseverance more than anything else. So many of our students can sometimes get discouraged by having to withdraw. They feel like failure, right?
I did.
And failure, that's a good model. Failure is not an option. There's life circumstances that happen that can pause your journey, but doesn't mean it has to be the end of your journey, right? So I think that's what your story kind of speaks to, that pause that sometimes required. But as you can tell, you went from being on probation back almost up to a really solid GPA overall, right? So I
And
really,
I keep my goals. I think one of the things that I'm using a lot is I'm keeping my vision, but I'm also keeping a mission. Like, okay, this is where
mm,
I gotta go. I need to get there. It doesn't matter how I get there, that's where I gotta go. And then in the mission, it's like, okay, now we're gonna have to switch it up. What can we do to still get to that goal without changing everything? Because sometimes it's not that the subject is even hard. It's just you getting there that makes it hard. And it makes you want to quit. But like I said, right now I have this mindset that I'm gonna see it through. I'm doing it for a really, really good reason. I feel inside and out about. It's something I've always done, and I hate that I procrastinated so long because everything always seems so much important, like working, eating, important things. But I kind of focus more on that, and then in reality, you start getting bitter because you want that you can do all these things and not being able to express it how you want to do it. It makes you want to break your shell. At least it
So
did for me.
tell me, I don't mean to cut you off, Josie, but I want to ask you a specific question. Where does mentality come from, you think? This mentality that you're not going to give up, that you have a mission and a vision. Like, where do you think that came
I
from?
think it comes from just a whole lot of experience and just cultural things, whether it's American, whether it's I'm Puerto Rican, whether it's Puerto Rican, whether it's just because I'm a woman. I
Yeah.
think a lot of it just came from that. Like I'm trying, I'm good at something that is predominantly um male dominated. That alone already for me, I know that I have to be that much hungrier. If
Mm,
they're hungry, I have to be starving because I need to be able to level with them. And they need to be able to accept that, not because of anything else, but because of my work. And I'm there with them because I can do it, not because it's just, oh, you just happen to be a space that we need it filled. I don't want to
mm.
be, an exception. I want to be the person they go to. So that puts me, I mean, that puts a lot of anxiety and stress and pressure on me, but I already know the expectations because I've been in that world. I've been in those fields and I worked around them. So I know how it kind of flows. So I need to make sure that I'm good at whatever it is that I'm doing. And because I'm a girl, now I can't even really have a flaw. Like, oh man, I really have to be good because maybe Bob over there can make a mistake. Oh, but he's been doing it for X amount of years or whatever. But Josie can't make the mistake. You know what I mean?
Right. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
It's like, well, we all told you women were gonna mess it up, and then it's like, so that's a fuel to one of my fires, and then just being Hispanic. Like I'm American born and raised, but when you look at me, you don't see an American, right? Most people they see an individual that looks like they don't belong in this country. That always irritates me, by the way, because it's like, what does an American look like? Like I've been born and raised here. I'm like third generation or second generation. It's like, how much more American do I need to be? And I feel like sometimes I always have to defend that. They're like, yeah, but where are your parents from? "Well, my parents are from Brooklyn."
It
Like,
doesn't matter. You're
do
from
you
there
want to
from
know what my great
America.
great grandparents are from? Like, hell, I don't even know. I don't even think I know people back in that lineage. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, why do you have to ask me these questions when maybe someone else can get a pass on? Oh, so where are you from? I'm from Arkansas. Oh, that's great. I'm from, Illinois. Why you
Right.
gotta ask me with more detail where you from? Like, no, I don't like that question. And
Mm.
I think it's rude. And I think even if it doesn't come off rude, people should really like this is not 1900s. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Keep in mind where you are. And this is a very diverse country. So to ask someone where they're from, it's like you don't think I belong here. And I think that already started the conversation on the wrong foot.
Right. So Josie, you had spoke to a lot. I love what you said about being that if they're hungry, you're starving. That's an interesting mentality to take, And if anyone's listening to this podcast, that's something that I think you gotta take, regardless of where you come from. I gotta start taking that route. If they hungry, I'm starving, and I gotta grind now to get to where some other people is at. So that should be our Maverick motto that we ever have a basketball team. If they hungry, we starving, and we gonna get to where they getting at. So thank you, Jody, for sharing that perspective. Um, so you kind of touched on, your challenges and all that good type of stuff. So what comes next for you in terms of after MTC? What are you thinking about doing after MTC?
Well, I've been thinking about that a lot lately too, just because I'm not too sure where the journey's taking me because I still have to finish what I'm starting here. And I'm just halfway through. So I'm still not, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that because this is a 2-year college and I'm getting the associates already, I can either, which is what I'm weighing right now, I can either start the electrical engineering part because I'm already here. I already finished the mechanical part. Now I'm gonna start the electrical part. So that way I already have both of them. And then maybe switch over to a place where I can, get a bachelor's or move forward with that. That maybe has a better program or something more. Cause my end goal is different than the things that I'm starting at MTC. This is just like the steps to get to where I'm going.
Right.
Definitely the steps. Like mechanical engineer might be the end goal for someone else. To me, it's just a part of the phase of where I'm going. Like I need to know that. I don't have to be a master of that. I just have to know it. I have to know the principles. I have to know, I have to, I have to master it, but I don't have to have a master's
Right
associate
in it.
degree
Yeah.
for it. Um, Same thing with electrical because my end goal is ever since my mom got sick, which is what really is fueling me too. The another thing, so they had so many fires. That's fueling my fires. That my mom got really sick, and I've been working and I've been talking about this thing that I want to have in existence, and I've been tinkering and I've been playing and I've been making little models of this and that, but I never took it any further. More like I'm doing magic tricks at the talent show versus really showing the world what I can do.
Mm,
But I
mm,
need that discipline. You know what I mean? I know I can't do it with the skills that I have because I've tried. And without knowing what I'm learning here at MTC and what I hope to keep learning as I'm going through this journey is exactly what I need. That's the part that I can't grasp whether I'm doing it with my hands because I don't have it. And she got really sick and I told her I'm going to create something to help her. And with that it's going to help a lot other people, which is I'm going to get there too. So I'm
Right.
helping you to help others to ultimately help me. And that part is very challenging. And sometimes it's like, it seems like it may not be worth it to others when I express myself and they see how I've been going through a lot. Cause I told you all the challenges. I've been leaving
Right. Yeah.
work. I even quit my job. I had to. I quit my job for the whole summer. Like I needed to just stop that. And now I'm working again, but at something that works for me because I really want to see this through and I really want to get it done. And I'm hoping, keeping my fingers crossed, that it's gonna happen within my mom's lifetime, you know?
Well,
And if
well,
it
we have.
doesn't, at least she'll see me progressing into it. So she knows how I am. So she knows that I'm already in it. I'm not gonna stop.
Well, I'm hopeful that she may be sick now, but that she'll see you walk across that stage at Colonial Life Arena, probably
Mhm.
hopefully next year, next May.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping
Okay.
so because I
Well,
had a little setback when I had to go down to part time.
yeah.
So.
Well, we do have December. We did have December graduation. I don't know that'd be too aggressive to
It don't
graduate.
matter. I'll graduate when I need to, but I'm wearing my cap and gown. I told everybody because my brother, well, I call him my brother. He graduated and he was like, I wasn't gonna spend that extra money to graduate. I was like, you did all that work
You gotta celebrate yourself.
and you're not
Yeah.
gonna I was like, no, I want the whole shebang. I was like, I want the cap and gown, I want the little thing, I want a tassel, I want to throw it to the side, I want to throw it up in the air, I want my school ring. I don't care how much it costs. I want the school ring, I want it all. Because
That's-
I've been working and I've been giving it my all. And when I wasn't, I saw my flaw and now I'm giving them my everything.
So, Josie, what advice would you give to other students considering MTC?
If you're doing it, do it because that's what you want to do. Not because it's something you have to do, not because it's an expectation of what you should be doing, but it's because what you want. Because ultimately, everything that we do, we have to want to do it, or we're never going to be happy doing it, regardless of how much money you make. I've been in positions where I thought I had it all. I was like, ooh, I'm living the American dream. I just need this, this, and this. No, I
Mm,
wasn't. I was unhappy. I was making enough money. I was making everybody else happy. They thought I was a great person. They thought that I was doing great in life. Oh, look, she has a car. She has a house. She attained these things. No, I'm miserable. I want to have a husband. I want to have a family. I want to, you know what I'm saying? I want to have work-life balance. I don't want to always be on the road. Because if I'm always on the road and I'm always talking to different people and I'm always, yeah, that seems fun, right? 'Cause, hey, I always wanted
right.
to travel. But after a while, you don't always want to travel. You're like, this traveling is not for leisure or pleasure. This traveling is for work. So it's not like
Mm,
you're taking a break. If school seems like it's tough, then doing that's gonna be tough too, because you don't even like it.
yeah, that's
You
true.
have to do it because you're expecting that pay. So my advice would be do it because you want to do it. Do it because it'll help others grow. Because if you're gonna do something just for yourself, well, that's just selfish. Do it because it's good for you, and do it because it'll ultimately be good for others.
So, Josie, anything else as we wrap up our conversation that you would like to add to about your journey in MTC or anything else in general before we wrap up?
Um, Hell, I could talk for hours. So
Oh, I know our audience can tell already that you are a talker, but I know
I like
that
to engage because I'm curious. I think one good thing about me is if anybody needs a helping hand, I like to know. I like to be in the know. So if anybody needs something and I don't know, now I'm curious and I need to know. So I'm gonna get it so I can get it for you. Um, I like to hear what everybody has to say because no matter how many times I've heard it, hearing it from a different person gives me a perspective how we really are linked all together. Ultimately, you know what I mean?
right, yeah.
No matter where we're coming from, if you ask me the same question and I get the same answer, no matter where I'm hearing it from, and that's what I love being a New Yorker. Because when I'm back home, I have friends from all over the globe, and they're Americans, but they also have that cultural background that they also bring into how they interact as a New Yorker. And it's always, to me, I'm always fascinated by it. Sometimes I get upset. People are funky, and I get upset with how funky they are, but then I'm like, "Hey, I could get just as funky too," and they probably, thinking she's a sweet angel to some, and then some might be like, "Oh, she's a little devil."
Well,
So I
Josie, I think it's fascinating. For me, I just like hearing people's stories and regardless of where their background that they come from, because I think we all have a unique journey. We all have a unique story that can be told, even though some people may see their story as boring. Born, let's say you're born in South Carolina, raised in South Carolina, just elements of your story that can relate to other people's elements. Because all of us have had, moments where we wanted to quit or moments of trial and tribulation. And I think your conversation today has kind of touched on a little bit of all of that, right? Transitioning from, coming down from New York to South Carolina right before COVID. Your mom is sick. Going through withdrawals at school. All of that has kind of encapsulated this conversation. I think so many of our students listening and just people in general can relate to what you said today. So Josie, I want to thank you for joining us today on the Maverick Voices podcast. This conversation was really enjoyable, and I
I got
want to
off topic
tell
a few times.
what, Josie?
I got off topic. I didn't complete all my answers, but
No, 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 no worries about the answers. I think our audience will appreciate it nevertheless. And so I want to say thank you, audience, for listening. Be on the lookout for our next podcast. And as always, I'm Patrick Bennett. This is the Man Voices podcast, and go
and this
back.
was Josie.